What's up everybody, I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2022 Acura MDX. So this is the all new generation of the MDX here, and from the ground up, totally new platform. Of course, the styling, the exterior, the interior, everything is completely new and it is really impressive. So this is the latest Acura to adopt all their new styling changes, you know, with those slim LED headlights up front there and just the longer proportions. This whole vehicle is longer and wider than before, and that does help out the interior here as well. You have more third row space and more cargo space than you had in the old MDX, as well as many other improvements, such as this gorgeous new interior design that they have on all these new Acuras. And this one is even more high-tech than those because you have these fully digital gauges and stuff, which we'll get into more in a minute. But this interior is really impressive. Now this one is a little less luxurious than the top advanced trims are. This is the A-Spec version we have here, but it still is, I think, pretty luxurious, you know, for this segment of vehicle.
Yeah, I really like it. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the piano black plastic. It's nice, it makes it look sleek, but once again, it's something that can be easily scratched and easily look crappy within a handful of years.
Yeah, wouldn't even fingerprints immediately make it look, you know, not so great as well. So yeah, that's a good point. It'd be nice if they had some other materials. Now, if this like little gray piece of plastic here in this, that can be open pore wood trim in those higher trims, and so that would be a nice change for sure to make this feel a little bit more expensive. But I mean, the contrast stitching here, all the padding you have everywhere, it feels pretty premium. But anyway, so first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have, these are basically the standard sport seats you get here in the MDX, but this in the A-Spec version here, they're a little bit sportier with the leather on the sides and the Alcantara in the middle here. And they're comfortable seats. They have, you know, the usual adjustments here, nothing too crazy. If you want to go up to some more adjustable seats, you can get those in the advanced trim where they're 16-way seats. These are the more basic, I believe, 12-way seats, but they're still very soft and comfortable, and they're heated and ventilated, and so that's nice. We haven't tested out the ventilation here because it's freezing cold here in February, but heated seats do work very well.
Yeah, and for the passenger, you get all of the same perks as the driver, and you also get the memory seats, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's great to have memory on the passenger side. That's not something you usually get.
Yeah.
But seat does go up and down though, right?
Yes, the seat goes up and down and back and forth, and you can adjust the lumbar as well.
Yeah, that's great. And these aren't the nicest seats you can get, because like I said, you can go up to the full Milano leather in the advanced trim, but also the Type S versions coming later this year will have massaging seats available. Unfortunately, they're keeping that only for that performance version, which is a little bit of a bummer. You can't get them here in the regular MDX, but anyway, those will be sweet, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to trying those out. But in the meantime, these seats are really great. Next is the steering wheel here in the MDX, which is also fantastic. So in the A-Spec version here, it is a flat bottom wheel, a little bit of a sportier feel to it, but it's just a phenomenal wheel. It actually reminds me of the steering wheel in the NSX supercar, because it has this beautiful 9-3 grip, which really sucks in your fingers nicely, and you have this like contour to the back of the 9-3 grip, so that you have, I would say, probably the best 9-3 grip, the best grip on a steering wheel in any kind of vehicle like this. For any three-row crossover, that by far the best wheel. This wheel also has these metal plated paddle shifters here on the back of the wheel that are great, and just a few buttons here on the front of it. Very nice and easy to use. The only downfall with this steering wheel is that it is not heated. This vehicle has an as-tested price of $58,625, and at nearly 60 grand, we still don't have a heated steering wheel. Unfortunately, Acura forces you to go up to the absolute top advanced package, which will put you around $62,000 in order to get a heated steering wheel. Now, you can get a heated steering wheel if you're willing to swap steering wheels, because at the Acura dealer, you can add it on as a dealer installed accessory for an extra $500 to have a heated steering wheel. But you have to do that at the dealership, and they have to yank your steering wheel off and put a new one on. Not the greatest thing. You know, all the other competitors basically allow you to have a heated steering wheel in their non-top trims, and a lot of them is just an a la carte option. But aside from that, a fantastic steering wheel, and I absolutely love everything else about it. Moving on to the gauges here, they are fantastic. So this is this brand new 12.3 inch digital driver display here, and it is very cool looking. So there's two different looks to it. So what you're seeing here is one of the looks, which is a little more futuristic looking, and then there's a more traditional look with round dials there. But very high resolution, very crisp, and it's not too customizable. It's basically just that little part on the right there you can change, which is kind of, if you're used to other Acuras from the past few years, that's just what you would get in the middle part of the the old-fashioned analog gauges back in the day. Wish there was more customization there, but again, you do have the 2 looks, so that's nice. But you're always forced to see a little image of your car driving in the middle there, which is kind of cool because that little image actually does animate. It'll reflect when you're hitting your brakes, when you're putting your turn signal on. You'll see all that on your little car icon there, which is kind of cool. But I mean, I love the fonts and everything. It's just very cool gauges. They look a little bit sportier whenever you go up into the sport mode as well. You can, in the advanced trim, get a like 10.5-inch head-up display as well. This A-Spec version does not have that, so I'm not able to test that out. But honestly, I don't miss not having a head-up display because these gauges are beautiful to look at. Totally happy just having those. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, another beautiful display is you have this 12.3-inch infotainment display here, and it is not a touchscreen. Acura is still one of the few that are resisting the touchscreen thing. And this screen, I love it. I really do. I know a lot of other people don't love this Acura setup. This is now, I think, my 3rd Acura press vehicle with this. So this is my 3rd week collectively of using this system. And maybe it's some of the updates they've done over the past couple of years, but it continues to get better and better. And I'm a natural at this system now. With this True Touch pad here, like I immediately know, okay, I want to hit the thing in the far right corner. You immediately put your finger on that far right corner and you instantly touch it. There's no guesswork. And as you can see, there's very few even shortcuts there. You can add your own shortcuts, so you can have, if there's a favorite radio station you want, you can have that as just one big menu option there. You can have it as customized as you want. Phone numbers, whatever, you can have all saved right there on that home screen, which is great. And here in the newest version of the system, it now has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto that's wireless as well. So that's great. You can hop in your car, you don't have to plug in your phone, and you have your instant smartphone connectivity there. And I just think it looks really cool too. You have the animations here, even on the home screen, you have this constant spinning. It's kind of a space type theme or something. It's just the way those dots are constantly rotating. It's just a really cool look.
Yeah, it looks really cool. However, for the passenger, you really cannot use anything. The driver will have to do everything for you because it is so far away from where the passenger is. And it has this little armrest that will continue to get in your way because first of all, you would have to go over the cup holders to even reach this, and then you have this little armrest. So basically, if you're the passenger in this car, you might not be able to have any kind of control over anything that's going on, which is kind of annoying. I know that he was able to figure it out, and I'm sure if I was the driver, I'd be able to figure it out pretty easily. But for the passenger and someone who doesn't come in here very often, it's just not the perfect setup for the passenger, for sure.
Yeah, you definitely have a learning curve with this True Touch thing. And if you're going for a test drive, it'll probably drive you crazy and you'll be really annoyed. But if you give yourself a chance, if everything else about the vehicle you love, and you give yourself a chance to learn the system, I really think it's really intuitive once you get used to it. And as far as, your access, at least they do have a volume and a tune rocker here in the middle. So they tried to bring some stuff over to your side. So it is better than, like, for example, we just reviewed a Genesis GV80 interior, and that had volume and tuning controls all over here, right close to the driver. And I think Acura is better with this being at least more center for that stuff. So if you wanted to change the volume and tune things, you could at least do that.
Yeah, it's definitely better. It's just a little bit of a reach, which I, as a passenger, don't really enjoy if I'm having to reach all the way there or all the way there. So it's just a convenience point.
Yeah, and then this system is also hooked up with this ELS Studio 16 speaker stereo. It's 710 watts of power, and I love these ELS Studio stereos. They're some of my favorite in the luxury segment. They are fantastic. They're right up there, in my opinion, with the Bowers & Wilkins stereos and the Volvos, the Bose systems you get in the newest Mazdas. This is actually even a step beyond that because you even have speakers in the roof here, right by your grab handle. And so that's really cool to have. So it really is an immersive 3D stereo sound, and I love just rolling around in this thing, listening to all my favorite music. It really is an impressive stereo, and I think it's even better than the GV80 stereo. It's better than many of the others. The XT6 Cadillac's Bose system is not even close to being as nice as this stereo. It's fantastic, and that is another thing that if you do want to wait for the Type S performance version later this year, that will be getting I think it has like 21 speakers in that system, and it's going to be an even more advanced version of this ELS Studio stereo, and that would be exciting to try out as well. But in the meantime, fantastic stereo. One of my favorite things about the MDX here and all modern Acuras is they just do such a good job with their stereos. Coming down to the climate controls here in the MDX, it's still a little bit more old school. You just have a basic little readout there. Nothing too advanced, and not as high-end looking as what you get in some of the nicer stuff out there these days, but still is, you know, decent and gets the job done okay. More of these glossy piano black buttons, which are a nicer feeling than just regular plastic buttons, but could get a little more fingerprinted up and stuff. But I do like these little toggles for the climate and stuff. I think it's a nice little touch. And then, of course, you have this huge drive mode selector right in the middle there, which is a nice thing to have if you are on the sporty side and you're going to be using that a lot. It's nice that it's nice and large. If you don't care about that, it might be kind of overkill and wasted space, but, you know, nice to have that nonetheless. Also, on the Tech and higher trims, you get this iconic drive ambient lighting, which gives you, I think, like 27 different themes, and they're all named after iconic roads all over the world, and it's a very cool system. The only unfortunate thing though here is that in the A-Spec and the Tech versions, you don't get any ambient lighting here in the center. It's only basically on the doors, so it's a little less extensive than a lot of the other ambient lighting you get in like the GV80 and stuff, for example. So just keep in mind, if you do want to have all that ambient lighting here in the center as well, then you're going to want to go for that advanced trim for that as well. And then moving on to storage spaces here in the MDX, it's about on par with the rest. I wouldn't say it's amazing or anything for one reason, but first off, in the doors here, you have a nice large pocket with a bottle holder and a pretty deep, you know, pocket there, so you could stand up tall bottles and stuff without any issues. Coming over to the center here though, all you really have is this little cutout for like a key, and then your 2 cup holders, and then you have this massive wireless charging pad, which I think is actually the largest wireless charging pad in a car today. Yeah. It is massive. They say they future-proofed it, and you could fit, you know, probably something, as long as it's not the size of an iPad, it'll fit in this thing. I mean, it is really huge. But like all wireless charging pads, it still isn't great in my opinion. Contact is not good. There's been multiple times where I've laid my phone on here, and sometimes it's charged, sometimes it hasn't, sometimes it starts charging, then randomly stops. I'm still not sold on wireless charging pads in cars being actually good. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but for me, I'm not in love with that. But it is, you know, a nice little place to lay your phone, even if it's not charging it. And then you have the center armrest, which is super softly padded and feels really nice. And you open that up, there's 2 different levels. So there's this top little level here. You can fit some coins or, you know, small little things in there. You could potentially fit another smartphone in there if it's not too big. And then this deeper portion down here has a good amount of space in it. You'll also see a traditional power outlet and another USB jack in there. That's a good amount of space there. And if you're wondering where any other USB jacks are, they're also hidden with this little pop-up thing where you'll find a USB-C jack and another USB jack in there as well. So nice to have all those hookups. But you know, a lot of the other competitors these days do have some type of under console storage. And so in this, you'll see it just blocked off plastic. There is no space underneath there. And even Acura's own RDX has a massive bin under here. You could fit, you know, like a grocery bag or a purse or something large under there. And I'm not sure why they didn't do the same thing with the MDX like they did in the RDX. The RDX was great with that, and why they got rid of that, I don't know if it just didn't work with packaging stuff here in the MDX or what, but that is one thing you do get in some of the others. And so I think that storage space is, you know, still on par with most of the others. Most of the Germans don't have anything like that either, but some of the best out there, the GV80 for example, does have a little storage bin underneath there and stuff. So you know, par for the course, but definitely not best in class. But in this area, you have this really nice and softly padded knee area here, which is great because some of the others don't always pad this quite as much or quite as extensively. I mean, this whole entire panel is nice and soft. And so if you're on road trips and you're using the cruise control and you're kind of just resting your legs here or something, it is super nice to have. And even this little hand rest here for using that touchpad does have some nice padding on it as well. So that's also super comfortable. When you look up at like the dashboard, this is also nice and softly padded and covered in, you know, leather type material there. And so that all is really great. But the one thing that I noticed when I was really looking around here is like you have the dashboard is nice and padded, but then you come up to the door here and it's like this stark contrast of like nice padding and then cheaper plastic. I mean, yes, it does have a little bit of give to it, but this type of a door topper like this, I feel like is more appropriate for something like a Honda, not for an Acura. I wish that that would have been a little more luxurious feeling. Same thing goes for the bottoms of the doors, where it's just hard, scratchy plastic. That is something that Genesis, for example, in the GV80 does better. In the GV80, every single part of the door panel is soft and padded. I mean, even like the door handle grip in the GV80 is like plush and pillowy, and you get none of that here. So this is gonna feel a little cheaper than the GV80 on the inside for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just feeling like for the price, like it should be comparable, or at least a little bit more comparable to something like that. I think it needs a little bit of improvement.
Yeah, and I'll kind of go into this more in my driving review here on the MDX, but the MDX is definitely sportier than the GV80, but if you're looking for the most lavish, luxurious thing, I think the GV80 does do a little bit of a better job, and that gives you a touchscreen, and you know, gives you a little bit more flexibility than you get here in the MDX. But the MDX is great because of the extra cargo space, the extra third row space you get over the GV80. But while we're talking about the back seats here, moving on to the second row here in the MDX, it's a good amount of space. Again, I don't think it's the biggest out there, but it is certainly better. And again, adding that extra length here with this new platform really has helped. And so I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself with the seat in its standard position. I have still several inches of legroom to spare back there, and so that seat is very customizable. So it does slide forwards and backwards depending on how much space you want to give to the third row. But they're comfortable seats, and in the advanced trim you do get heated second row seats, but here in the A-Spec you don't get any heated seats back there or anything. When you look forward, you'll see they do have their own climate controls there, their own air vents, and you'll see 2 more USB jacks and a traditional power outlet down there as well. So great to have all those things. There's also a little bottle holders in the doors there. But the real interesting thing here about the MDX is that middle seat. So basically the way all the MDXs, they all come with this bench across the middle here. But it's interesting because, you know, a lot of the other competitors will give you a captain's chair option for that second row, and you don't have a dedicated captain's chair option. But what Acura decided to do is that middle seat is like a jump seat. It's very comfortable still, but you can actually pull out that middle seat without any tools required. It's pretty simple, and then that whole seat just pops out. If you want to have those captain's chairs, then you can have that, and you know, just only use that middle seat there whenever you need it. You can pop it back in. I think that's a brilliant idea, and I think that others should probably follow along with that, because you get the best of both worlds. When you want to have this thing seat 7 people, you can do that. When you need it to only be a 6-seater and you want easier access to the third row, you just pop out that seat and you're good. But if you want to use that middle seat as just an armrest, you can flip it down, and there's 2 cup holders built into it and a nice little cubby and stuff as well. And so that's all really great. But moving on to the third row, one thing I love about Honda and Acura with their 3-row vehicles is that getting into their third row is so easy. It's just one push of a button, and it electronically just slings itself forward very quickly, and it's super easy. A lot of the other companies, even the luxury companies, still force you to use some heavy lever or something and yank it around. This doesn't do that, and so I love that. That is super luxurious on its own, just the fact that you can do that without having to lift more than a finger. And so anyway, once you're in that third row, it is certainly better than before. So they said they added 2.4 inches of legroom to that third row, and they've added about a ½ an inch of extra headroom over the old MDX. So it's certainly a good improvement. And so again, me being 5'9", with the second row in its default position, I do fit just barely. I have maybe ½ an inch of clearance between my knees and the seat back. So as long as I'm not slouching or anything, I fit back there totally comfortably, and I'm good. Now, if you put that second row seat slid all the way back, then I am crunched up and I'm not comfortable, and I wouldn't want to be back there for more than 10 minutes. And then if you slide that second row seat all the way forward, even with me, again, sitting behind myself, I actually, even in the second row, have enough space so that my knees aren't against the driver's seat back at all. So I still have enough space in the second row. And then in that third row, I have like 2 inches of legroom to spare, and it'd be really super comfortable. So depending on the height of everyone, you can definitely comfortably fit 7 adults in this vehicle. So they did a really good job with that, because a lot of the other third rows in this segment, especially, you know, just the luxury segment in particular, they don't do huge third rows typically. You know, like a Lexus RXL I reviewed last year, I mean, that was a much more useless third row. I mean, that was really tough to use unless you really slid those second row seats up pretty far. And even the Volvo XC90 doesn't have a huge third row. I think this is more space than you get in that as well. The Cadillac XT6 doesn't have as much third row space, I don't think, as this either. And even like the BMW X7 that I reviewed a couple of years ago, that also is pretty tight in that third row. So I'd say this is at least towards the top of its class as far as third row space in a luxury crossover. It's still not going to be quite as much space as you might get in some of the non-luxury 3-row crossovers. And of course, if you go up to the body-on-frame stuff like Escalades and stuff like that, you're going to have way more space. But for this segment of vehicle, I'd say this is, like I said, towards the top of the pack. Very impressive. They'll also have their own little cup holders. And then moving on to the trunk space here in the MDX. That is another area where they did add a little bit of extra space. Now, it's not a huge change over the old MDX, but it is a nice improvement. And I just love, Acura does these huge bins under the floor, and I think they're bigger than the bins that basically anyone else does with underfloor storage. It is really awesome. I mean, you can fit several grocery bags in that bin. It's super usable, unlike a lot of the others out there. And I love that bin. But I mean, lots of space on the top there as well. Dropping those third row seats are very easy to do as well. If you do want to just have a massive 2-row vehicle instead and have lots of cargo space, you can do that very easily. It's just you lift up the lever and it drops right away. And you'll also see they have power outlet back there as well. And of course, the tailgate is a power open and close tailgate. It has the kick to open feature. So I think they did a great job on the cargo space. But yes, that's about all of our thoughts here on the interior of the MDX. Overall, huge improvements in every single way. I mean, compared to the old MDX, I reviewed that a couple of years ago with its like dual screen setup. It was kind of weird and stuff. This is fantastic. It puts it right towards the top of the pack. Like I said, maybe not the plushest out there, but for the money, it's fantastic. And you know, even though the GV80 does have a more plush interior, that third row is going to be a lot tighter than what you get here in the MDX. So I think if you're looking for a good 3-row vehicle, this is going to probably be, you know, one of your best bets in this price range. And it's a really good value, I think, for everything you get with a fantastic stereo. And even if you do want to go for that higher trim, 62 grand still undercuts all the German luxury competitors, which are going to be at least 10 grand more most likely for, you know, comparably equipped stuff. And so yeah, I think I did a great job with the MDX, and it drives fantastic as well. So definitely go check out the driving review. I'll link that above. You want to hear how this drives. It is one of the best driving 3-row crossovers out there, and I love it for that as well. But anyway, that's all of our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thanks to Acura for providing us here with the MDX to review for you guys today. And yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.